Welcome to the Personal Development Essentials podcast. Today I'm interviewing a very special individual. He is a speaker, a public speaker that has spoken in front of big audiences, over 3,000 people. He is also a trainer and a coach. Among his other traits, he is a real estate agent in Germany. But as in terms of his speaking engagements, he has a very unique niche. So he is a funeral orator, or speaks at funerals. So Cosimo Marraffa, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Agi. It's very privileged to get to know you and to have this conversation.
The pleasure is all mine, Cosimo, and I just want to tell everyone that how we met. So we were both crewing at Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within event in London a few weeks ago. So I want to start by giving us a brief introduction about who you are, your background, and then I will talk about the crew in UPW, which is how I met you. But give us a brief introduction of who you are.
Oh yeah, my name is Cosimo Marraffa. I'm an emo entrepreneur, speaker, trainer, coach, and I'm a husband. I have a wonderful family that I love, and one of my life principles are that I love to live because life is love. And for this reason, I live for love. So this is one of my things what get me going, and with what I love to empower other peoples in my nearest places.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great phrase to live your life by. It's really good. Let me ask you about crewing the Tony Robbins event at the UPW. Why did you do it? Why do you enjoy crewing?
That's a good question. Actually, this is something what they tell us every time we go to a seminar. Why are you here? And every time there is a different meaning because why I go. And this time, actually, it was to learn from Tony how to reach my next level, how are my next steps to reach my next level of growth and contributing in my life and for the people around me.
I see. You told me earlier that you never imagined that you would get the role that you got into in crewing. So I remember that when we go there, they tell us that we will be positioned in exactly the role that that we're meant to be. So this is the role that we're meant to assume in order for growth. So you had a leadership role. You were the captain of the usher team. So tell me, what were your insights? What do you think when you were assigned that role?
That's a good question. Actually, what I'm realizing is that in my subconscious, I aspired to that role. Mm-hmm. This was not a thing I aspired consciously, but in my subconscious, I always aspired to do something what could have a greater benefit. Mm-hmm. The second thing what was also interesting in this UPW event, that I also consciously always aspired to be a security man just in front of the stage.
Okay.
And it was interesting that one day I was chosen, one of 5 or 6, what was our limited group, to be there just in front of Tony and
Oh, really? Oh.
security guy there. So it was amazing for me how things you are going for actually they realize. So I think one lesson for me is get very careful about what you aspire, because it gets reality.
Absolutely. I can completely relate to that, because my aspirations before crewing was to relive the event, so to be in the main room, so I was being an asset, and also to have the opportunity to do the Dickens process, which I did 2 years ago, which I did as a participant, and also to meet incredible people, which I did. So everything that I had a certain intention to do, either consciously or not so consciously, actually happened. So it was an amazing experience. Any other insights about your leadership role, being the captain of the group?
I loved it to have a group what is motivated. So with the motivation from Tony, with the motivation from the group, with my motivation, I think we did a pretty cool job in our section. There were moments what maybe somebody was not so collaborating in the first moment.
Yes.
But we had leadership persons from Tony's master university group. They came and helped us, and we actually everything went smoothly. And I tried to ask one or the other ushers how the leading thing went for them, because this is important for me to know where I can improve. The room for improvement is the biggest room in the universe. So for
like
everybody is the room of improvement. And they said it went very well, and I'm looking forward to do it again and to be the best thing where I get into the place they assign me.
Mm-hmm. So you'll go again next year then in Birmingham?
Absolutely. Birmingham is on my calendar.
Right. Thank you. Cosimo, let me ask you also about the coaching and the training that you do. Tell us a bit about what it is that you do and why you do it.
That's a good question. The training that I do is actually because as a kid, I had always the dream to be a teacher. I had an experience with one teacher in math, on mathematics. I don't know, a lot can relate to that. I was not really the brightest one. Actually, I was very bad at math.
Okay.
But one day we had a new teacher, and he came in and explained everything and made his drawings and everything. And it was the first time somebody helped me to understand mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
And from that moment on, mathematics was one of my favorite things I did in school, and my grades went like, wow, best, plus, and best, and plus, and it was an amazing experience. What made me decide I'm gonna get a teacher, because I'm gonna have other people have the same experience. Not struggling with their things, what they want to learn, but give them this aha moment. So I always aspire to be a teacher, a trainer, and so I was called. Actually, it started with different companies I worked with, and we did a pretty good job making a good income. And they told us, my wife and me, to train the skills for the others in the company. So I started have trainings for 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people. And then I moved to have my personal coaching business. I do things like goal setting, like team building, like rhetoric in front of big audiences. So this is how I started it. And actually, one of my things what I love, I have, for example, a client. He is the leader of a company. He works, I think he has 300 people working for him, if I have the right number in my mind. And coaching him on rhetoric, and then getting the feedback that on his yearly talk, they went to him and said, wow, this was the best talk ever.
Oh, wow.
It was really inspires me to get better in this, and even helping other people like this client. And I could tell other experience, but this is one of the what touched me this last period the most.
Thank you. And I think it's very important for people to be able to express themselves. And as you know, public speaking for most people is the number one fear that they have. Even more than death, they are afraid of speaking in public. And I can certainly relate to that, because I was exactly like that just a couple of years ago. And then everything started changing, and now I really enjoy that feeling of having butterflies in the stomach before the speech. It's the adrenaline, but it's great to be able to express your message and help others, or influence others. So I'll go then. I'll carry on with the public speaking, and I'll go to the thing that I personally find very intriguing about you and when you were telling me, and that is the speeches that you deliver at funerals. So take us a little back at how did you start doing something like that, which is very unique.
Absolutely. Right now, I am at 200 funeral talks what I gave, and it started with a friend asking me to speak for his mother what passed away. And I was like, oh, I'm very privileged you're asking me this, but I think there is a lot of other who could do a much better job than me, and funeral, and but he was very persistent. I said, okay, let's do it. And it went so good that I said, hey, maybe I should have a look at it. And so there was another friend who actually has a funeral home. He said there is a need for this, because people actually are not into church like before, but they love the thing to have somebody who really is a little bit out of the spot and not too much into the in the family, who can deliver personal parts and everything in a meaningful way. And so what I did, I went to this friend's business, to his funeral home, and I started to work with him for 1 week. And I dealt with the with the deadly bodies, and I put clothes on them, and I made them nice for the ceremony and everything. So I saw that I can actually touch and work with it without having nightmares. So I saw, okay, it's a thing I can deal with. And so I started to offer my speaking engagements for funeral homes all around. And it went pretty good. And this was actually the start. And I'm very, very, very touched by this privilege to serve people in this important moment of life.
Thank you. So I suppose apart from the fact that because you are experienced in public speaking, makes it easier to say the message. But I want you to tell us how do you go about doing it. So you ask the people of the family of. I think that's what you were telling me earlier, that you get a kind of biography. So how does that? How do you do that?
Yeah, I do a so-called biography call or biography talk. I have my questions, and I go into the genealogy of the family tree. I go from childhood to school and to business and to family and to experiences they had, and I make a lot of questions, and so I collect that all together, and then actually I prepare the talk. And before I give the talk, I do something like a run through in the second moment, so they see and can hear what I want to deliver, and if I mixed up some dates, you never know, and if it's really what they wanted. And after that, we go for the funeral and do the celebration, ceremony.
Okay. So I bet you've heard some really interesting stories then during the. What's one story that you will never forget?
Okay, that's a good question. Actually, there are very touching stories, like maybe when a baby died, or maybe if a mother comes and says her son was like deciding to get to death. So this is some sad experiences and things I will never I will always remember. And actually in these moments I grieved with them, and I had really to step out of my my situation to not cry too much. So that was very, very sad experiences. But on the other side, there are also very, very interesting life experiences. What I realized that we should go a little more consciously through our life. I asked a family.
Give us an example. Yes.
Yeah. There was a family. I asked them about the genealogy tree and everything, and I asked, "Hey, how was his relationship with his grandfather or grandparents?" And they told me, "Oh no, there was no relationship. There had no meaning in his life." And I said, "Okay, we'll go on with the genealogy talk and everything." And then after a while, there came up a story that this man, when he was 10 years old, they moved from one place to another. It's about 150 kilometers. And after moving to this place, this 10-year-old boy took his bicycle with his friend to visit his grandparents living 150 kilometers away. So I said, wow, interesting. There was some kind of connection to his grandparents, and it's coming up during these conversations, and when you really go deeper into things, and if you ask different families. And another story actually is from my grandfather. When my grandma died, she wanted a Catholic priest to do the talk, and the family in reality was not so happy with how it went. So when my grandfather died, they say to me, "Hey, Cosimo, you have to do this." And I asked everybody in the family what we can talk about and during the funeral. And there also came up a very, very interesting story that his mother was living in a place where came through a lot of travelers. And one day they found in front of their house something like a basket with money in it.
Okay.
So my grandfather went there to look what kind of money is in this basket. But his mother told him to not look into it, so he's not don't have any thought about taking it for himself, because there might be somebody who already realized that he lost or she lost the money and is grieving somewhere. So it was a very nice experience. Actually, they could give back this basket with the money, and it was a life lesson for my grandfather. So talking about this genealogy talk and this biography talk with somebody, with a family, gives you life lessons what help them through their life and would help us to go through our life. And this is something what I really appreciate when I have the privilege to working with a family in this very, very special moments.
Cosimo, based on your experience, how do people see death, or how do they? Because the reason why I'm asking is that most people live their life like they're never going to die. They don't really think about death until that time comes that a loved one dies. So, have you noticed any pattern there, any change in the behavior, or some things that they say they would like to have done while the person was still alive and they didn't? That's something that I would really love your opinion on.
Absolutely. For death and what happens after death and what kind of hope there is, there are so many versions you can hear from persons. And actually what I realized is that too much people are afraid to talk about it.
Yes, exactly.
I think it may be because they are afraid about what the truth can mean. There is people, they think death is life of life. There is people, they don't know what they have to believe. There's people, they are kind of happy when somebody dies because they think there is a better thing after it. So it's very interesting, experiencing this, how people deal with this this moment.
Is there anything that you've noticed that people say that, like, oh, I wish I would have done this when they were alive, or something that because they can't do that anymore? Have you noticed anything like that?
Always. And if they don't say it, I can feel it, because when I do the biography talk, actually a lot of people, they tell me what they think I want to hear.
Okay.
They don't tell me what's really the real thing or the real situation.
Mm-hmm.
For me, whatever we talk about, I take it private. I don't tell anybody what we talk about, because especially during the funeral, we say only things what are meaningful. And there is a proverb or a saying that you don't talk bad about died persons.
Sure. Yes.
So maybe you can talk about lessons, what you can get out of the life,
Mm-hmm.
and in respectful way you can also talk about mistakes, but you don't talk bad about somebody. So for me, I wish they can talk openly to me,
Mm-hmm.
that I can give them this confidence that it's really between us, and it gives me the big picture, so I can say something meaningful.
So, in terms of uh, meaningfulness, have you found some lessons that keep repeating over these situations, that about what is truly meaningful
Yeah,
in life?
absolutely. Actually, for this thing, I uh, I need a structure.
Okay.
And one of the structures was helped me a lot, or a lot, is the 6 human needs, what Tony always talks about.
Mm-hmm.
You can go on YouTube and watch one of his seminars. I think in everyone he talks about the 6 human needs.
Mm-hmm.
And first human needs for people is to have some kind of security, some kind of solid ground. And I asked the family, hey, how important was for this person security?
Mm-hmm.
So the second human need is about insecurity, or about surprises, about
Right. Yes.
challenging stuff. And I asked a person, how important was surprises to this person?
Mm-hmm.
Then the third human need is about love and connection. And I asked the family, how important is love and connection for the died one? The fourth human need is about significance. And I asked them, hey, how important was to him being significant? If you gave him a compliment, was he happy about it? Could you really touch him with this? Or maybe did he more laugh if you help him with something in his house? So love and connection could be more important to him. The fifth human need is about growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked the family, how important was growth to him, and how did he express it? Did he used to read? Did he used to go to seminars, to courses? Did he love to improve his skills? How important was growth to him?
Mm-hmm.
And then the 6th human needs is about contribution. And I asked him, how did he contribute? Because everybody contributes in a different way. Some love to contribute giving gifts. Some love to contribute having time together. Some love to contribute just writing something for somebody else. So somebody thinks to contribute in world peace, or whatever somebody loves to contribute. And so I asked them the 6 questions, and basically with this 6 questions, with this 6 human needs, I can really go deep into what his life was about. And this helps also, the living one, the family, me, everybody, to think about what are my needs and how do I go after them.
Fulfill them.
How do I fulfill them in a positive way, in a neutral way, or maybe in a negative way? And is there some room of improvement in this 6 human needs I have, actually during the talk, I resume all of them. I talk about how he did in his life with these needs, and at the end I add something what is pretty meaningful, saying like, we can be sure that when he contributed, this helped all of us to grow in some area of our personality.
Yes.
And for this thing, we will be always thankful for him and use this, what he helped us to grow, to help others to grow. So I think this 6 human needs help a lot to go really deep into what's life about.
I think it is something that we can apply pretty much to every aspect of our life, or even our job, or whatever it is that we do. So I will put a link to that in the show notes for people that are not familiar with that concept to find out more about it. Cosimo, I have one last question, which is a very general one, but let's say you had a magic wand and you could change anything in the world as it is today. What would that be?
That's a very cool question. I know this is more a personal thing. But for me, it would be like, I think if everybody could get in touch with, everybody has a different belief. For me, it's if everybody could get in touch with the creator. This is something what what would be my thing.
I understand what you mean. Yes, yes, and I think people will, even they might not understand it up here or intellectually, but the heart knows exactly what you mean. So thank you very much for this.
During this 6 human needs, there is this thing of contribution. There's one question I love to ask is, actually I ask it only if the people wants it, because some have total different beliefs about universe and creator and God and whatever. But if they allow it and they're okay with it, I ask this question like, what could be one contribution I do for my creator? What could be for the greater good? So I think that's one thing what is the most meaningful for my life.
Thank you. It's a beautiful answer. Cosimo, how can people find out more about you? How can they connect with you?
Okay, I have a homepage. It's marraffa.org. Marraffa is spelled MARRAFFA.org. This is my homepage, and there's a link to Facebook, to LinkedIn, to Instagram, and to all of these channels. And if you're interested in having some service, some coaching, some training, feel free to get in touch, and we will see what's most important to you to when you're looking for coaching, training, or speaking engagement, whatever you're looking for.
Excellent. That's great. Cosimo, I want to thank you very much for being at the show with me today. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I wish you all the best with your life, with your career, and we'll certainly see each other again crewing Tony Robbins next year, if not before then. But yeah, thank you so much for me today.
For you also, thank you very much for putting up this podcast and this meaningful themes, and looking forward to see you again.
Thank you very much, Cosimo.
Ciao.
Have a lovely day. Bye.
Ciao.
That's great. All right. This was really good. Thank you. Thank you.
The recording still going on?
Yeah, let me stop that.
Oh, you can record it.